Mario, I'm just going to ask you some questions. The primary thing, real quick, can you remind me, like, what do you do in your day job?
Actually, right now, my day job recently changed a lot because I started my own company. So I don't really do much 3D lately.
Yeah.
Well, I try, but it's difficult for me. But when I was freelancing and doing most of the time 3D, usually
Awesome.
it's small talk with clients in the morning to catch up with them, see if we're on the right track with the segment, and have a small chat about what we should address or go forward in the day.
Cool. Well, this is an exciting topic. Actually, we can just jump right into this.
All right.
Yeah. So, what made you start your own company?
Actually, it was the most rational next step because I was getting a lot of job inquiries. The first solution I tried to apply was to increase my daily price, so that I didn't have much clients doing that, but that didn't really work. I still got a lot of clients, so couldn't really manage all the work myself. So I started hiring 1 or 2 freelancers to help me. But I still had some more work for more people, so I thought, what the heck, I should create a company and try my luck in there. And that's what I'm doing right now.
Okay, but now a lot of people, like, it might be the next rational step, but I mean, it's got to be scary, yeah?
Yeah, it's quite scary. You can see the money is dragging very fast at the beginning because you have to do a lot of things in the beginning, like getting high-end computers, which are not cheap. You also have to pay the first salaries for the employees. You also have to pay some taxes and register some things. So it's actually quite expensive and scary. And also, you're not sure if you're going to be able to keep up with this amount of work for a long period of time. So you have to try so that you don't let people down.
Well, how, this is a question I think a lot of people have, both beginning freelancers and I think other people starting, their own business. How do you figure out pricing and really developing that offer for the client, right? Because on one level you could think there's just an asset they need to be developed, but there's more that you can deliver than that, right?
Yeah, of course. So the approach I did back in the day, I didn't really know how the pricing in the industry was. So I didn't have also connections, so couldn't ask them. So what I did is to set a price that could afford me to live and pay all my expenses, but trying to get it as high as possible, and see if some clients will be interested in my work for that price. If they were, which was the case, next client that arrived, I will ask him for a little bit more, maybe, I don't know, like $25 extra per day or 50. That with every new client. So in the end, you're getting closer to the actual rate your work is worth. And you'll realize at some point, if you go above that price, usually the answer is no, we are not interested. Maybe because they can't really afford it for the project they are working on, or maybe because you're not as great as you think. So I think that the best way to get to your perfect daily rate is try to be realistic with the quality you're delivering. Try to also keep in mind that the client might not need that super duper quality you can do. So maybe you have to adjust the price to what he's going after and see if it's worth for you. So there is a lot of things you have to keep in mind. But yeah, I think a good price has to be set for a specific situation.
Got it. All right. So, how do we figure out that first number? Because you might say somebody's got to figure out like what they can live on, but should they calculate that on working 40 hours a week or 30 hours a week and 20 hours a week? Because in the beginning you may not be working a ton. So yeah,
that's right. So I think again that's probably my personal situation. But when I started freelancing, I only had one job before that, so I didn't really have like an average estimation of the price of 3D stuff. So what I did is to ask a little bit more of that salary I had to pay my own taxes and everything. And that's how I did the calculation. But you have to also try not to go very low, because if all of us start offering really low prices for a job that requires love and technique and hard work, probably the whole profession is going to be devaluated for the long time. So usually try to set a price which you think is fair, but not too low or not too high. And maybe you can do some research about where the client is from, because they don't pay the same in London than they do in Santa Monica or something like that.
Right.
So you can ask more for people from more, let's say, rich countries or with better economy.
Got it. Great. Okay. So, and really what that means is you pick the wage that you're getting paid. You got to add a little bit more for taxes, and then you got to start. You got to start. You got to offer that first client something, and then you adjust from that first client. But did you have any situation where you kind of put something out there in the beginning and you had to, they said no and you had to retract and
actually more than one time, and it happened. It keeps happening. Like sometimes you think that the value of the work you're going to be doing for this client is certain amount, so you go for that amount, and they say completely no, like they are not interested in paying that money for that job. So maybe you really want that job and you are not unhappy doing that work for a bit less money. So I think the best way to do it is to be honest, be friendly, try to work something out with the client, see if in the end it can work for both parts. And if it do, great, yeah, you get a new job and the client will be happy. And if it doesn't, well, a new client will arrive at some point, so it's not really a big deal.
Yeah. What got you into all of this? Into 3D and into the art side? What got you into it?
Actually, I didn't really want to start doing 3D. I started programming. So what I was attracted to was video games and creating some like stories, interactive stories and stuff. But I realized after a few months that programming was not as fun as I thought.
Yeah.
So I tried some academy which was in my city that they were teaching 3D and see if that was better choice. Didn't really like it at the beginning, and I was skipping all the classes and I was not enjoying a lot doing 3D. But some good teacher of mine, which I think is one of your current students, I'm not going to say his name, but pretty sure he's in your bootcamp.
Yeah.
So
you can say there's no problem.
Yeah. He was a pretty good one, and he got me interested a little bit more into this.
Awesome. All right. And then, you came in as a programmer and you get into the art side of it. How'd you develop these skills? Like, what was the process? Because, the stuff that you've produced shows, some amazing aesthetic and a lot of work, like this hard surface. So how'd you train yourself to start to, learn this, to do it so well?
So the beginning it was just doing some small steps. Not sure if I have some of the first things I did in here, but they were pretty bad, I can tell you. So it was like some head sculpting, like this one, for example, but it was very, very bad. So you start trying to learn step by step. Like, let's say you start learning how to block out the proportions of something you are looking in real life, but you still suck at every other thing you have to do to get that finished. So let's say you focus on one aspect, like block out first. And then once you're very good with this, you can jump into maybe, okay, I'm going to try doing some wrinkles just for fun. Or maybe now I'm going to try doing some small hard surface pieces. Like, you don't really have to go big and do a whole project. You can, for example, try use this, the handle, and try to get it very clean. So start step by step, trying to learn small chapters of what you're going to be writing in the end. And once you have like study many aspects of the same thing, like different hard surface techniques or different sculpting techniques, in the end, your brain combines everything and you start getting better in a global aspect. So best advice, I think, is go step by step. Don't get frustrated. Study small things and then try to combine every small thing you have studied.
Okay, that makes sense. Chunk it down small enough so you get something, and then focus on. This is interesting, actually, because a lot of times what I see students and myself get into is, we focus on the big picture, and so we focus on, hey, I made a gun case. Yeah, it's like 50% done, and this part's crap, and that part's crap. But I made a gun case. Whereas I've seen successful artists time after time after time say, who cares about the gun case if it looks like crap? Make the gun handle beautiful. Make the briefcase handle beautiful.
Exactly.
And then move on from there.
Yeah. And also, one common mistake is to try and be the best in the community at the very beginning of your career. Like, let's say someone watched a really cool work on trending on ArtStation, and you go like, oh, I'm going to try doing this, and this is quite complex. And you try and you fail, and you go like, oh, I'm not really worth for this profession. And you get frustrated because you cannot do what this guy is doing. But maybe this guy has been sculpting for 10 years.
Yeah.
So don't try to go into something very complex, which requires many hours of study.
Yeah. Yeah, and this is beautiful. So,
it's pretty good work.
But how do you do that? How do I say this? How do you square that at the level that you're at right now? So like you're working these beautiful hard surface, and then now Vitaly Bulgarov goes around and posts something. So how do you square this desire for us to be the best with all the definitely as we get at higher and higher levels, the air gets rarer and rarer. But do you still look at competition and still try to beat people out, or how do you think about that now?
I think that's something that is also very common, or at least it was in the work atmosphere I was before. The ego thing. A lot of artists have a lot of trouble with ego stuff. Like they try to step over each other, and they try to be the best, or I don't know, like they really have issues with that. But I think that's not the workaround you have to go for. Like you don't have to be worrying about other people, because if you go to web page, you instantly get overflooded with a lot of talented people, and that's very frustrating, because I can tell you for sure, even if I can do some hard surface cool stuff, I can't do this. And this guy is really good, for example. So if I see this guy, and then I see this guy, and then I see this other thing, like I get instantly frustrated. So the best way to get better and better is not really to compare yourself to others, because you will get frustrated instantly. It's just to try and focus yourself to a future goal where you want to get, even if it's not 3D artist, just a life goal you want to achieve, and see the best way you can get in there, the most efficient way to get there. Maybe it's by practicing every day hard surface, maybe it's sculpting, maybe you just have to be good enough so that you can jump into a lead artist, and then you want to organize teams I don't know, it can be many different things, but for sure you don't have to compare to others. You have to focus on your path and follow step by step your plan.
Got it. Great. Okay, look, I'm looking at one question when you...
Oh yeah, I'm reading some questions now, yeah.
Yeah, so Rashid was asking, when you're trying to get things trending in ArtStation, were you posting the same render in every page and forum, or did you cater different renders to the same mesh for each forum or page? Or really, this is a bigger question of, you know, what do you consider is important in presenting your work? You know, both from the position you're in now, where you're running a business, you know, and if there's any changes from when you were, you know, just a freelancer.
Well, yeah, actually, it's a good question, Rashid. At first, I was trying to post my work in every existing page, and that was exhausting because there is a lot of them. So you end up spending a lot of time focusing on advertising your art, which is not a bad thing, but you lose time of practice, which is also very important. So what I end up doing is, it's pretty lame, okay, so don't judge me, but I end up like agreeing with a group of friends, okay, let's try and see what does it take to get to trending in ArtStation, how many likes in how many minutes. So this doesn't work anymore, by the way, but a couple of years ago or 3, if you got 6 likes in less than a minute, you were instantly on trending #1. So we used to do that a lot, but that doesn't work anymore.
I love that. Well, there's always the strategy of, you know, hiring your own click bank, folks. So you can always, you know, a couple $1,000 later, I'm trending, yay!
Nah, that's not really the way. Okay, now the good advice I think should be try to make the best of your work every time. Do not go crazy and spend a whole year polishing one thing, but once you think that you got that feeling you liked and you're happy with it, try upload it and see what happens. You don't really need to buy clickbait or anything. It was just a joke. But you will realize that some works you're expecting a lot of attention, they will get none, and you think, okay, maybe this was not that good, and you learn from that experience. And maybe some others, you think this work is completely trash, and it explodes. For example, this work I did a couple of years ago, I think. I did this in like, I don't know, 2 days or 3 days. I thought it was not going to go anywhere. And I think it's been the most famous work of my portfolio. So just try post what you think is cool, and it will probably suck sometimes, work sometimes. So get the times it works and try to replicate that as most times as possible.
Great, that's a really good point. But now, when you're talking about some of this work that takes 3 days, 4 days, what are some of the strategies that you use to kind of produce 3D work quickly? Because, you know, 3D work is probably the slowest on the planet, right? Like you can get in and paint this stuff. I'm done in 3 hours. But you open up Maya and you're like, oh, I just got Maya open in 3 hours.
Yeah, that's true. I think that, yeah, it can be frustrating sometimes because it takes a lot to do some works. So what I try to do is never go too crazy in personal stuff. So you will see with clients' work, I try to spend more time and more love in them. But when it's personal, just try to be as efficient as possible, because yeah, you can do personal stuff for learning, but if you have work, you're probably going to learn stuff working too. So what I try to do with personal work is to make it as cool as possible in the less time possible, so that it's like an advertisement only, something pretty that doesn't require much skill to do. Because you can see all the personal stuff are just like shitty photo bash, shitty sketch. So they're not really good pieces. It's just pretty stuff with pretty renders. And
I should go on record and say that your definition of shitty is different than mine. So
no, but I mean, it's not. I don't think it's shitty because I wouldn't upload it otherwise. But
yeah.
But I mean that if you go closer to this photo, for example, one second.
Yes, right. I get it. You know, you zoom in, the level of detail shows.
You will see. This is just a sketch in ZBrush, but
right.
people don't really spend more than 10 seconds in your post, so they will go, oh, I like this. Yeah, cool. Okay, yeah, go, and they will close. So you don't really have to spend long hours to impress people. I think it's a couple of days, maybe 1 week is good enough to give a good impression if you get a good render. So I never go too crazy with personal stuff. What I try to do is something that if you see the thumbnail looks good, and people will only click on the thumbnails they like. So if you go to trending and you're not impressed by the thumbnail, you're not going to go and see all the work this person has put into the piece. So try to do something catchy in the thumbnail. People will click on it, and if it's good enough, they will like it and share it.
Got it. All right. Well, now let's talk about your company. How do you find work today? What really have you found to be kind of the more stable lead generator, so to speak?
Mm-hmm. Well, now it's a lot easier for me because I've been freelancing almost for 3 years. So I've made some contacts, and also I knew some people from the studio. So it's not really the same situation for me as for other people, but general advice that could work is that every person you met in the industry, even if you think it's no one, because it could be no one today, but it will be probably a very good artist in a few years. So try to be really friendly, try to help them, if it's someone who is starting, try to help them grow and give good advice to them. If it's someone who is a lot better than you and you really admire them, go in a friendly way. Don't be too, I don't know how to say that word, but don't try to spam them and go really insistent on them. Just say hi, see if they are okay with talking to you. Maybe ask some advice, say, oh, I love your work. And if you're friendly with everyone, you will realize that in a couple of years, you will have a lot of contacts on Facebook, a lot of contacts on Skype, on the mail. And maybe those contacts doesn't really worth anything now, but maybe one day you will need some freelance this month or for the next 2 months. And then if you have been friendly with everyone, you can go to everyone and say, hey, I'm available for work. And they will probably be more likely to recommend you to some people who is also looking for artists than if you have been rude or you don't even bother in helping on or contacting them.
Got it.
So yeah, be friendly and you will get contacts.
Yeah. What about network events like Trojan Horse or there's a couple of other things that are out there? Do you recommend attending those, or have those burned themselves out now?
It depends. I went last summer to Trojan Horse. It was the first and last event I will ever attend. Not because it was bad, but because I think those kind of events are more focused on introducing really, really early artists to the community and to opportunities than for people who has been in the industry already for a couple of years. So even if you're a junior artist and you're already working, I think that's not worth it to go to some of them. I haven't gone to all of them, just to one. But that's the impression I get from the interviews you see on YouTube, the talks, and also the event I attended. It's very good for doing networking because you meet a lot of people. But if your objective is to get some work and you already have work, it doesn't really make sense. You just go if you really want to make connections and get some work. So I think it's more for starters and juniors than if you're already settled up in the industry.
Got it. Okay. All right. So what do you think are like one or two of the key things that people who are looking to be a freelancer, what do you think is essential for them to kind of put in their portfolio?
It will probably be different for every person if they're going to go for prop artists, weapon artists, or concept designer. So obviously it's something that is related to where you are looking for. But in terms of what they should put only the thing you're happy with, even if it's not good, and remove the stuff you're not really happy with, and try to be a little bit selective. Put only the stuff you're more happy with, because in the end, you're going to be spending many hours doing the work they hire you for. So it better be something you enjoy doing. Otherwise, you're going to be like blaming all the gods every damn day.
Not just one, but we're going to move to India so we can blame 1,000 more.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, just put good stuff that you enjoy doing, and the work will come at some point. So don't be too worried about the stuff you have, like, oh, I'm not getting any work now, maybe this is not good enough. So just keep doing stuff. The stuff you love, you upload it. The stuff you don't love, just keep it for yourself.
That makes sense. Do you think, well, what I'd really like to know is like, what your experience is like freelancing in, I think you're in Spain, right? So it's freelancing in Europe versus, maybe in Canada or North America. If you know people that are there, is there some difference between location? Do you find that your clients tend to have to be kind of located in Europe, or are you all over the world?
That's actually a very good question. Actually, a very good one. So my clients tend to be all from the United States and some from Canada, because the industry is mostly focused in there, or UK.
Yeah.
So it's very likely to get more clients from there. But if you're European, my advice is don't get European clients usually, because you're going to be paying more taxes. Like, you have some obligations which are a lot more expensive than the ones you have with clients from the US.
Oh wow!
So you have to pay around 21% extra in taxes if the client is from the VAT zone, sorry.
Okay.
Then you have to pay if they are from US or Canada. Also, salaries in general are a lot higher in US and Canada than they are in Europe, generally. So having a junior position freelance, let's say, for a US client is going to be paid a lot better than if you have a senior one in Europe. So
okay, well that's fascinating. I would have thought it would have been the inverse.
No.
Okay, good. So work with the Americans and the Canadians. Okay.
Yeah.
There we go. So how do you manage the time difference? I mean, most CG guys.
Sorry, cut you, Ryan, but I just saw a question in the chat which is related to the previous question. Do you mind if I answer it?
Please, yeah.
Yeah. So Corinne is asking, what is the general salary in Europe? So it depends on the country, because, for example, in Spain, 3D artists, I know a lot of them in here, and average should be around 1,200 to 2,500, and that's the top you're probably going to get if you're a senior. Month? Yeah, per month. So it's 2,500, the top you're going to get, and that is if you're good, like pretty good. I don't know many artists over that, probably one or two. Well, if you're freelancing, you can make more, but not with Spanish clients, I can tell you. Average salary in other countries like Germany, France, and the center of Europe are maybe double than that, or sometimes triple. But the economy in there is a lot better. Entry level in Spain will be closer to 1,200 or something like that. So yeah, sorry I cut you, Ryan. We can go with that question then.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about the time difference. Like, how do you work out the time difference with clients? And are you dealing with, you know, people that are you dealing with like more executive types, or are you dealing with the artists?
Usually we work directly with art directors or producers, sometimes outsourcing managers.
Yeah.
So dealing with the time is not really that problematic if the client respects you. Sometimes we just meet with the clients in the morning for them, and here is already 5 p.m. or something when we meet. So it's a good time for a meeting. Bad thing is that everything you talk about in the meeting has to be done next day, because it's almost the end of the day in here, of the working day.
Right.
But it's not really an issue. I don't find it to be problematic. I never had a problem with that. But some other clients are the kind of clients that talk to you when it's already the evening in there and it's almost like 2 p.m. in here, 2 a.m. sorry. So you're already, I don't know, partying or sleeping, and it's like, it's not the time, man. But yeah.
That's my brother-in-law is actually in Spain right now, and he called us at 3 o'clock last night, I think it was, and he's like, "Oh, we're just getting 3 o'clock in the morning. We're just getting to dinner, you know." And he's like, "Nothing is open before noon," and you know, I think dinner's, but the previous day started at 10 p.m.
Yeah.
So different lifestyle.
Yeah, right now it's around dinner time in here. Maybe 1 hour ago or something.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, what do you enjoy about freelancing and working there in Europe, as opposed to moving yourself to Canada or something like that to be closer to the work?
You mean what? The reason I prefer working here than Canada, for example?
Yeah.
I actually don't really prefer this. It's just that I was born in here, so I moved to closer countries. And also because I don't need to get any kind of visa to move around Europe. I just have to go, and that's it. But if I want to go to US or Canada, I have to get a visa. That takes a lot more time, and they ask you for some, let's say, how much money do you make? So it's more complicated. But here is good. I mean, you have a lot of variety of countries. You have cold countries, really hot countries, and okay countries. So I think Europe is a cool place, like US, for example. I guess that you have the same. It's not that different.
Yeah. All right. Well, that sounds awesome. So, all right, my friend. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time out, and so sorry that I was a little bit late, but it's really cool to kind of see this kind of transition that you're working from artist to now your own company. So I'd love to know, like, what's next? Where does it go for you, you know, in this evolution?
Well, right now I'm trying to figure out the way for the goal I set to myself, which is having a multiple. I can't really say much about it, but I have multiple destinations for the company. So for now, we are just doing what we know to do best, which is producing art. But we also have something going on with our own project development.
Okay.
So probably try to get some titles out there, not really big ones, like small games that can make people enjoy their time. Like same kind of philosophy I have for the work on my portfolio. Quick stuff that looks great and make you enjoy for a little bit.
Yeah.
And after that, time will tell. Don't really have a specific thing to do. Just have a final goal I want to get to.
Yeah. Well, what's been one of the biggest benefits of starting your own company and building this out?
To be honest, for now, none.
Yeah.
No, just kidding. I mean, we're getting
No,
pretty
I
good
get
deal.
that. I've been in business 8 years. I totally get that. It's like you just suddenly bought yourself more work. Oh, that's great. You know?
Yeah. Right
Everybody.
now, I'm working more hours than before, spending more money than before,
Hmm.
and it's pretty tough right now, but it's looking pretty good for the next few months and few years.
Yeah,
So I could answer that question better in a few months.
that's great. All right. Well, thank you so much for taking the time out, and thank you guys for being here. And it was really cool to kind of get your perspective on things, Mario. Great. I wish you all the luck in what you're doing. Let me know if I can do anything.
Thank you, Ryan. Same for you.
Okay. All right. Take care, everybody. Have a great day.
All right, same guys. Have a good day.
See you, Mario.
Bye bye.